Our policy is one which is called by the Afrikaans word apartheid. And I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often. It could just as easily, and perhaps much better, be described as a policy of good neighborliness, accepting that there are differences between people. But while these differences exist, and you have to acknowledge them, at the same time, you can live together, aid one another, but that it can best be done when you act as good neighbors always do.
For nearly a century, one secretive brotherhood shaped the destiny of an entire nation. Hidden in plain sight, their members controlled politics, the economy, and even the church. They called themselves the Afrikaner Brother Bond, and they swore an oath that South Africa would never prosper under black rule. It began in Johannesburg in 1918. Four Afrikaner men, scarred by the defeat of the Boer republics, formed a society dedicated to the survival and dominance of their people. Their mission was to unite Afrikaners culturally, politically, and spiritually, and to reclaim what they believed was their divine birthright. They saw themselves as a chosen race, the new Israel. And Africa, they saw it as their promised land. And they saw the people of Africa like the Palestinians or the Philistines, who it was their duty to oppress and to eliminate, for them to take over this promised land that God had given them as a chosen people. Now, religion contributed to this ideology that they had, because majority of the Boers, the Afrikaners, were members of a denomination of Christianity that adhered to Calvinist theology. Now, Calvinist theology proposes that humans are predestined for everything in their life, including salvation. So, for example, you are predestined for who you get married to, predestined for where you walk, predestined for how you will be treated, how you will be oppressed, and everything that happens to you is out of the will of God. This same ideology was also used in the Americas during the slave trade era, and it was used to justify the belief that black people are inferior and should be subjugated by the white race. Membership to this Afrikaner Brother Bond secret society was based on invitation alone. Secrecy was absolute. Members swore loyalty not just to each other, but to a vision of South Africa where Afrikaner power would never yield, unlike in the previous time where Afrikaners were subjugated by the Europeans, the British to be specific, sorry. One particular chilling line echoed through their private discussions. We would rather see South Africa rot and fall into ruin than prosper under black and mixed race majority rule. Peaceful coexistence was never part of their plan. Now, for the historical context, the Afrikaners, like I said earlier, had suffered defeat at the Anglo-Boer Wars, and they felt God planted them in Africa for a reason, and they had to wrestle their destiny out of the British rule and give rise to their sovereignty by lifting white Afrikaners out of poverty and dominating the politics, the economy, and the religious life of South Africa. Once these guys, as the Afrikaner Brother Bond, seized power, all English-speaking bureaucrats, soldiers, and state employees were sidelined by reliable Afrikaners with key posts going to Brother Bond members. With their ideological commitment to separatism, the electoral system itself was manipulated to reduce the impact of English settlers and black and colored people. By the mid-century, their network extended everywhere. Prime ministers, military chiefs, business moguls, all were sworn brotherhood. In 1948, their vision became law, which is now known as apartheid. Entire generations grew under policies engineered in secret meeting few ever witnessed. By the late 1980s, the world had changed, economic collapse, international sanctions, and relentless resistance from the black and colored peoples forced apartheid to its knees. In 1994, South Africa transitioned to democracy. The Brother Bond and its secrecy was exposed, and then it later rebranded itself as Afrikaner Bond, a shadow of its former self. It lost its powers and it lost its majority influence. This new brand claims to work for the common good of all South Africans, regardless of their ethnicity or race. However, it is still tied to the Afrikaner ethnicity, and specifically the white Afrikaner. So if you are mixed race, you can be a member of the Afrikaner Bond. It's majority white. But the question remains, did the oath truly die? Does its shadow still linger, influencing South Africa's future in ways we can yet see? And even in modern times, yes, even though South Africans abolished apartheid and segregationist laws, you can still see certain neighborhoods where white people live exclusively from the black people. Now, I understand that yes, they might want to preserve their culture, preserve their history, and all of that. But one might wonder, why does Orania exist? What if it came up as a kind of mechanism to fight against the integration laws of the post-apartheid era South Africa? And just for you to know, Orania came around the same time that apartheid was coming to an end. So what if people who formed this Afrikaner Bond or who were members of the Afrikaner Brother Bond transitioned to the Orania micronation? Because for me, it is a micronation. It has its own economy, it has its own currency, it has its own security system, its own university. Everything that a country would need to operate, Orania has them all. Again, I ask the question, did the Afrikaner Brother Bond really die? Or does it still linger? Stay tuned, because I will dive deeper into the policies and the other things that have to do with the Afrikaner Bond and how they controlled South Africa. Thank you, and see you in my next video.